The Galactic Council, a coalition of ancient, dominant species, had maintained control over the galaxy for millennia. They were the self-proclaimed guardians of order, their laws enforced by fleets larger than any planet could dream of resisting. When their envoy arrived on Earth, their message was simple: surrender or face annihilation. The ultimatum was broadcast to every corner of the planet, the booming, artificial voice proclaiming humanity's place as the newest vassal of the galaxy's rulers. Resistance, they claimed, was futile. Earth stood still, paralyzed by the weight of this declaration. In the sprawling meeting halls of the United Nations, fear and uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Some argued for capitulation, pointing out the sheer technological disparity between Earth and the Council. What chance did humanity, with its nuclear weapons and nascent space programs, have against civilizations that spanned star systems? Others spoke of dignity, of the need to fight regardless of the cost. Humanity had fought countless wars among itself. They would not kneel to an alien overlord without a struggle. The Council, for their part, viewed this moment as a formality. Humanity's potential as a resource-rich, exploitable planet was all they saw. They had done this before, subjugated worlds with a single message and a display of overwhelming force. They didn't anticipate resistance. Earth, to them, was an insignificant dot in a galaxy of greater civilizations. But on Earth, something stirred. The initial fear began to give way to determination. Scientists, military leaders, and political figures came together in a way that hadn't been seen in centuries. Plans were hastily drawn up, defenses fortified, and a single message sent back to the Council: Earth would not surrender. The response was met with derision. The Council's representatives laughed at humanity's audacity, calling it nothing more than a minor inconvenience. They dispatched an armada, a fraction of their total forces, but more than enough to obliterate a single planet. This was not war, it was a statement. They would make an example of Earth, a warning to any other species foolish enough to defy them. As the Council's fleet approached Earth, humanity worked in secret. There were no illusions about the odds, every simulation ended in humanity's destruction. But Earth's strength had never been in sheer numbers or technology. It was in its unpredictability, its creativity, and its refusal to accept the impossible. While the Council viewed Earth as a simple, backward planet, humanity saw this as a chance to redefine itself. In every corner of the globe, efforts to innovate and adapt moved at a breakneck pace. Hackers worked tirelessly to crack the Council's systems, scientists developed unorthodox countermeasures, and militaries trained for a war unlike any they had ever fought. This was not just about survival, it was about proving to the galaxy that Earth would not bow. When the first Council ships entered Earth's orbit, they found a planet ready to fight. What followed would become a story whispered across the stars, a warning that even the most insignificant-seeming defiance could light a fire impossible to extinguish. The sky above Earth burned as the Council's fleet descended, their ships massive and alien, blotting out the sun. Their technological superiority was evident in every detail: the precision of their maneuvers, the unbreakable energy shields that surrounded their vessels, and the sheer size of their armada. The initial bombardment came swiftly, targeting Earth's satellites, communication networks, and known military installations. The Council intended to crush any hope of resistance within hours. Humanity's response was immediate but seemingly futile. Surface-to-air missiles and rudimentary space defenses lit up the skies, but the Council's ships shrugged them off as if they were nothing more than an irritation. The world watched in horror as their most advanced weapons failed to even scratch the invaders. Cities were evacuated, chaos spread, and the future seemed bleak. To the Council, the battle was already won. But beneath the chaos, Earth's countermeasures were quietly coming online. What the Council dismissed as primitive and disorganized was, in reality, a carefully coordinated plan. Humanity's ingenuity, honed over centuries of conflict and survival, was about to be unleashed in ways the Council could not anticipate. The first strike came from a seemingly harmless source: Earth's weather. The Council's ships, designed for the vacuum of space, were vulnerable to the volatile atmosphere of the planet. Coordinated efforts to disrupt weather systems using experimental technology caused massive storms to erupt in key locations. Lightning storms, artificial hurricanes, and extreme turbulence crippled several of the smaller ships, forcing the larger ones to expend energy on stabilization. Simultaneously, teams of cyber specialists executed a daring plan. Using the data gathered from earlier Council broadcasts and intercepted communications, they launched an unprecedented hacking campaign. The Council's systems were sophisticated, but Earth's best minds worked tirelessly to exploit weaknesses. They infiltrated the targeting systems of several ships, causing weapons to misfire or turn on their own fleet. The element of surprise was humanity's greatest weapon, and they wielded it ruthlessly. On the ground, guerrilla tactics came into play. Instead of engaging the Council directly, human forces targeted supply lines and key landing sites. Drone swarms, improvised EMP devices, and stealth missions disrupted the Council's ability to establish a foothold. For every step the Council took, humanity forced them 2 steps back. The invaders, accustomed to quick and overwhelming victories, began to falter under the relentless, unpredictable attacks. As the battle stretched on, a critical turning point emerged. A hidden orbital weapon, a project kept secret even from most of humanity, was activated. A massive energy pulse, powered by repurposed nuclear reactors, struck the Council's flagship, disabling its shields and leaving it vulnerable. The destruction of the flagship sent shockwaves through the fleet, both literally and metaphorically. The Council's forces, once confident in their superiority, now found themselves on the defensive. Earth, against all odds, had not only survived but had forced the galaxy's most powerful force to retreat. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to the reality of humanity's resilience. What began as an invasion turned into a harrowing reminder that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire capable of consuming empires. The Council's retreat was not a victory, it was a reprieve. Humanity knew this. While the alien fleet limped back to regroup, Earth mobilized, determined to turn survival into triumph. Across the globe, industries shifted focus, producing weapons, ships, and systems capable of competing with the galaxy's most advanced technologies. What the Council saw as primitive desperation was, in truth, a rapid evolution born of necessity. Humanity wasn't just defending itself anymore, it was preparing to strike back. The greatest minds from every corner of the planet worked together, sharing knowledge, theories, and breakthroughs with unprecedented speed. A coalition of scientists developed a new type of spacecraft, designed to move faster, strike harder, and adapt on the fly. Engineers reverse-engineered the remains of downed Council ships, integrating alien technology with human ingenuity. Military strategists pored over every scrap of data, analyzing weaknesses in the Council's tactics and infrastructure. The world, once fragmented by politics and borders, now moved as one, united by the singular goal of ensuring Earth's survival. The first offensive strike was a calculated risk. A small fleet of Earth's newly developed ships, manned by a combination of seasoned pilots and volunteers, launched a daring assault on an outpost critical to the Council's supply chain. The outpost, located on a barren moon orbiting a distant star, was vital for refueling and repairs. Intelligence gathered during the initial invasion suggested that its defenses were minimal, as the Council had never considered Earth capable of reaching beyond its own system. When the human fleet arrived, they executed their attack with precision and ferocity. Advanced stealth systems, adapted from the Council's own technology, allowed them to bypass the outpost's early warning systems. What followed was a swift and decisive engagement. The outpost's defenses, designed for routine patrols and maintenance rather than large-scale conflict, crumbled under the assault. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council lost a key asset to what they had deemed an inferior species. The success of the mission sent ripples through the galaxy. Other species, long oppressed by the Council, began to take notice. Earth's defiance became a symbol of hope, a reminder that the Council's dominance was not absolute. Small resistance movements across the galaxy started to rise, emboldened by humanity's actions. Meanwhile, the Council struggled to comprehend the shift in power. Their fleet commanders, once overconfident and dismissive, now faced mounting pressure to retaliate. But humanity's strategy was no longer reactionary. Earth launched strikes against key targets with increasing frequency, disrupting supply lines, sabotaging production facilities, and forcing the Council to spread their forces thin. What the Council failed to understand was that humanity thrived in chaos. Earth's history was one of adaptation, conflict, and survival. Every setback only made them more determined, every loss sharpened their resolve. The Council, accustomed to subjugating planets with overwhelming force, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Humanity wasn't just fighting for its survival anymore. They were reshaping the galaxy, one battle at a time. The Council, once an unchallenged authority, now faced the reality of their own fallibility. And at the heart of this rebellion was Earth, a planet that refused to kneel. The war was over, but its echoes resonated across the galaxy. The once mighty Galactic Council was a shadow of its former self, its fleets shattered, its authority crumbling. Planets that had endured centuries of oppression now rose up, inspired by Earth's defiance. The Council's vast empire, built on fear and dominance, fractured under the weight of rebellion. Humanity's victory had not just secured its survival, it had shattered an illusion of invincibility that had kept countless species in chains. Earth, too, was forever changed. The unity forged in the fires of war did not dissolve when the fighting ended. Nations that once vied for supremacy now worked together to secure their place in a larger galaxy. The war had accelerated technological progress by decades, if not centuries. Alien technology, once incomprehensible, had been assimilated into human systems, creating a fusion of innovation unlike anything seen before. Humanity was no longer confined to its solar system. It was a spacefaring civilization with the means to explore, defend, and, if necessary, conquer. But Earth's leaders understood the gravity of their new position. They had not fought to replace one tyrant with another. Instead of establishing dominance, they extended a hand of cooperation to the newly freed planets. Diplomatic envoys were sent to foster alliances, offering aid to those struggling to rebuild. Humanity became a beacon of hope, a symbol of resistance against oppression. Yet the message they carried was clear: peace would be offered, but Earth would never allow itself to be subjugated again. The Council, though diminished, was not entirely destroyed. Its surviving leaders retreated to a remote sector of the galaxy, where they licked their wounds and plotted their return. But they no longer commanded the fear they once did. Their name, once synonymous with power, now carried the weight of failure. The ruins of their strongholds became monuments to their hubris, reminders of what happens when arrogance blinds one to the strength of those they deem weak. On a distant council capital, now abandoned, humanity erected a monument of its own. It stood tall amidst the rubble, a stark contrast to the devastation around it. Carved into its surface were simple yet powerful words: "Let this be a warning, Earth does not surrender." The inscription was a statement, not just to the Council but to the galaxy as a whole. It was a testament to humanity's resilience and a promise that they would stand against tyranny, no matter the cost. The galaxy began to change in the aftermath. New alliances formed, trade routes reopened, and planets once silenced found their voices. Humanity became a central player in this new order, not as conquerors, but as survivors who had earned their place through determination and sacrifice. The Council's collapse was no longer just a tale of rebellion, it was a story that inspired a new era. And so, Earth stood vigilant, not as a conqueror or ruler, but as a reminder. The Council was no longer an empire, they were a cautionary tale. A warning to those who underestimated the power of unity, adaptability, and the indomitable spirit of a planet that refused to yield.